This is Spokane Planning Commission for Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. I'm Todd Byruther. Let's see, let's take roll calls. We're still hybrid here. So Jackie, please.
All right. Michael Baker,
Here.
Jesse Bank,
Here.
Todd Byrather,
Here.
Greg Francis,
Here.
Chris Neely. Doesn't look like he's here. Ryan Patterson. Here. Carol Shook.
Here, and Jackie, I wanted to say thank you for all the things you do, just acknowledging you on Administrative Professionals Day.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Shook.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's very nice of you to say. Tim Williams.
Right here.
You. Cliff Winger. Thank you. Mary Winkus. Here. Councilmember Kinnear. Here. All right, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Jackie. We'll open with a public comment period. If anyone is here or online that would like to address the commission on something not on the agenda, please speak up. I don't see anyone here. Online. Okay. If none, we'll move into the commission briefing session. First agenda item is to approve the April 13th, 2022 meeting minutes. We hear a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Michael and Greg, any discussion, edits? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Abstentions? Okay, so approved. City council report, Councilmember Kinnear, please.
It's great to see everybody. Likewise about to apply, so it's great. Thanks. So Monday was lively if any of you tuned in. We did approve $1.5 million of ARPA funding for the Cardon Bridge, which if anybody has recently tried to go over it, it's quite the mess. So rather than take money out of parks where parks would be rehabbing the parks, we put that 1.5 million for ARPA to fix that bridge. That bridge accommodates about 161,000 bikers, cyclists, walkers, runners. So it's heavily used by everybody. It's a huge tourist attraction, and with Gonzaga students jump off of it every spring. So, we have to keep that. Then we did pass our resolution that requested priorities for future. This was the most controversial piece of the legislative session Monday. We did pass the resolution for future shelters. So smaller things include or could include pallets that would be walkable for people to use. They would include wraparound services, all the sorts of things that would be amenable to folks who are currently living on the street that who would be adverse to living in a big children with space shelter. And it met with quite a bit of original saying. I think a lot of people didn't understand that this was a future request, and it was a request, it was not a mandate resolution. Once I explained that, I think I explained it 4 times in the meeting. People started to get it. We have no lease right now for the Trent space. We have no provider for the Trent space. We don't know how much it's going to cost. People wanted us to approve it, but we can't approve something when we don't know what it costs and when we don't have a provider. So that was very interesting. And then finally, we're working with those that are, Steve McDonald, 3 sub-area plans, one for Central, one for Hilliard, one for West Central, so that we can start looking at how we want those to grow, develop, revitalize. And the East Central one is I'm really excited about. It would include East Spray Corridor, which we did the infrastructure for many years ago, but never went that next step to do a sub-area plan to figure out how we're going to include housing, how we're going to include all the amenities that people want. And then going all the way up to Fifth Avenue. We did 2 or 5th Avenue, Spencer and, Steve McDonald, Spencer Wilkerson, me, our assistants. Had a great lunch at Fresh Soul, talked with people, saw the possibilities there. So I'm really excited about that. That will be funded with ARPA money as well, because we need to hire a consultant and then a project person to manage. So we're working on that. That's it. Any questions?
I'll ask the easy one first. Back to the bridge.
Yes.
I think you might have said it, but is it a replacement or bridge deck?
Jack?
Just the deck. You
Is
said
it that lower section too being removed?
That I do not know.
When it was discussed 2 years ago, they had discussed, where it has like a little viewpoint,
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
that was gonna be like
Yes,
nixed, and then a viewpoint was gonna be added at the same level as the deck.
yeah, because it was, yeah.
we're talking about the blue bridge, right?
The wonky turquoisey one right by,
Yeah.
It's right by Bunsen.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my point actually, because I was curious what opportunity there is to involve the community, if there's any opportunity to fix some of the design, but if it's just simply life safety and deck and we can't
Sorry. you're-
unpomo it. But okay.
The turquoise might stay.
Yeah, no, and my point is not, maybe it is about the bridge, of course, but it's when those kind of projects come out, there's such great community opportunities to talk about design and what's appropriate in that setting.
Remember, this is parks. They are done by a separate park board, so the city does not have any money. But-
Do you really have jurisdiction over the water? Anyway. It raises some questions there.
Someone's gotta fix it.
Well, no, it came up because one meeting we were discussing the Centennial Trail, and that jurisdiction is really complicated.
The fact that it's this little strip of state park that belongs to
Yeah.
the city.
Right. So, anyway. Okay, thank you. Sorry, that was supposed to be easy. The second one was, the council and the commission met last week. I think some of us were here, most of us were. And then you went into the heavy topic you just talked about, but is there any feedback from the council or is it a blur after that?
It's not a blur, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes, there was feedback. Next time we want, it was weird because we were up here on the dais, we were all down there. And it just felt weird. And then we weren't sure whether we were talking to you down there, you up on the screen, the other council members who were across from us. So we decided next time we do that, don't have it hybrid, it's gonna be all virtual. Or have it here. We're still trying to get this room to be compatible with technology. So that this still has to be fixed. Because that space.
I agree. Just being on it remotely, I did not feel engaged or comfortable talking. I felt like it was, planning commission giving a report to city council versus a dialogue.
Exactly. And you probably felt like you were watching a TV show and you weren't really part of what's going on. And all we saw was this little dot of Greg Francis' head up there. And where I sit, there's a big glare overhead, so I thought, I know it's there.
It's not that bad.
but-
It's not like I'm, yeah.
So if we decide that next time.
Watch them. That's the signal.
Have it here.
And the reason we couldn't do that under a normal setup is the Channel 5 thing. We have to accommodate Channel 5.
Oh, because it had to be filmed.
Because, yeah, we broadcast that and,
And there has to be a
There.
calling
yeah,
function.
so I think we're working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Community Assembly liaison for Mary, please.
Oh, wait,
Oh.
Uh,
Carol, please.
President Todd, thank you. It's a little muffled to hear Councilmember Kinnear. And I wanted, if you could repeat to me, you said something about the East Central area.
Where am I actually talking? Where's the?
It's in the ceiling.
I can see you. Actually, I can't see you, Councilmember. Kinnear.
I don't think this is.
I'm online.
You hear me? I know you're.
I can hear,
So,
I can hear,
Carol, can you hear me?
hi. I can hear you. I just couldn't hear
Okay.
Councilmember McClear very clearly, Lori very clearly.
So Carol.
What's your name? You're up for another ice cream cone today.
Okay, Carol, we were
Yes.
talking about the sub-area plan that we're going to do in East Central. And that will be
Okay.
using ARPA money.
Oh, great. I'd like to talk with you about it further. Maybe I can call you or send you an email. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mary?
Okay. Well, I haven't got a report from CA since it hasn't met since the last time we met, but I did go to the pet meeting last night, and besides reviewing what was going on with the CTAB with dollars and stuff, the whole notion of neighborhood plans came up again, so I'm just going to repeat that there are a number of people who are not happy that their neighborhood plans haven't been implemented. When I mentioned that some of the neighborhood plans haven't even been done yet, let's just say the entire pet committee was less than thrilled. So if I could put another plug in for doing something on those neighborhood plans, the neighborhoods would be most happy that something finally gets done on it. So, and I said, I told them I offered to help on whatever day that was last week, and I'm still offering to help, but we really need to do more on that than we have done. Somehow it gets to the bottom of the list all the time, and I understand all the reasons why, but it doesn't give the neighborhoods much faith. And
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Mary. President report, I don't have much. I'm just going to throw a little commentary in. I'm on the, as I mentioned before, the State Building Code Council, and we passed Group 1 codes last week, and there were some contentious things, but also the process went really well and was really robust. I think one of my takeaways that I want to share was there's a lot of crossover and a lot of discussion about land use impacts on some of these, especially on the energy code and so forth. So it's going to get me to think a little bit more about where we might be missing opportunities to discuss both the building, energy, residential code overlap with development code, land use. Yes.
So
That's fair.
just so you know, sustainability committee for council has been delving into those areas, getting a lot of pushback from builders and developers. So if we're going to have a conversation about that, absolutely need to go there. Whether you agree with it or you in the trades.
Well, and maybe I'll comment, I'll go a little deeper on that because that's an excellent point and an important point is that, this was Group 1, and so the contentious one was the commercial energy. And these are state mandated, targets by the legislature. So it was a tough process, but everyone was at the table for 16 months. And a lot of very loud people in the room, so forth, but in the end, I think we walk away and it'll be challenged, but I think we walked away in terms of the public process, having a very robust, productive process. I don't think anyone can walk away from it saying they were not heard in that. So I'm trying to use that as an example of we got through a difficult topic, but
We got phone calls from the building.
yep. Oh, and there were lawsuits, and we were sued as a state building code council by a trade association, and so that's a bigger topic. I just wanted to raise it that there's really overlap here. We can. Okay, thanks. Moving on, transportation subcommittee report. Cliff, please.
Yes, this is Cliff. The transportation subcommittee is going to meet on May 3rd at 9 o'clock. And I'd also like to add to the comment that Mary made. The council president emailed me just yesterday that the city council is committed to do the remaining neighborhood plans. So it's in the works, Mary. That's it for me.
council,
Thank you, City Council.
city council?
City Council President Beggs, yes.
Okay, that was good to know.
Okay, questions for Cliff? Thank you, Cliff. Secretary report, Director Gardner, please.
Yeah, got a couple of things coming up for council this coming week. So we heard the TOD framework and the design review changes that took care of a couple weeks ago. Those are now coming before council, so you see those on Monday. Following council closely. And then we've got our hearing is scheduled for some of the items we're going to talk about today is scheduled for our next meeting in 2 weeks on May 11th. So, yeah, great time for everybody. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes.
So the TOD design review changes going to council on Monday, is that first reading or is that the actual final hearing?
They had their first reading on Monday, this last Monday, so this would be fine.
Yeah, please.
Last week, the Washington State Realtors Association had our first meeting in 2.5 years. Our board of directors met, and one of the things that we're going to concentrate on next year is condo reform. So we will keep you posted, but we are going to take that one up to the minaret and see who bows the Mecca.
And you get to that point, would you contact us if you guys need letters and support?
Yeah.
Please. We have a slate of liaison that coordinates all that stuff, so.
We will need all the help we can get on this one, guys. Yep.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, the last two items are the current and the upcoming agendas. So we hear a motion to approve the current agenda. Does anyone need to see it online or do you have it in front of you? It's in our packet, so.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Greg. Jesse?
Second.
Thank you, Cliff. Any discussion? Opposed changes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, so approved. Tentative items, again, we added this so that if there's a desire to include anything on the longer term planning management. What are you trying to call this?
Agenda management.
Agenda management, thank you. Thank you.
Do you want me to discuss what we
Please.
already have on that? So we're starting to get into comp plan amendments. So we'll be having workshops. The first one's scheduled for next time, May 11th. And then we will have those, I think pretty much every time we meet, all the way through into July. We have 8 different amendments, I think was the number. And so we'll spend a little bit of time during each workshop. And I don't know, Kevin, did you?
Sorry, the first one is the second meeting in May.
Oh, it's the second meeting.
Yeah, it's going to be the May 25th meeting. We'll bring you the first 2 applications.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, second meeting in May. But those are coming up and that takes a lot of your time and effort. So thanks for paying attention to those things. We'll be those. Another one, I think I'm not sure this is going to happen in 2 weeks, but we do have a couple of applicants for the there's one more vacant position. So we do have a couple of applicants, and I think at some point it would be a good idea to start interviewing. And so that may be in 2 weeks, it may be at the end of May, just whenever we can get the schedule. So that's another one to look out.
So when we do that, are we proposing as a body that will, again, assign 2 or 3 members like we did last time? So that we can hold those in private? You don't have an opinion? Jesse, you were on there looking at you.
I think we're really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, that came out of, we used to always do these with the whole body, but obviously it's a public meeting and at times we felt kind of awkward about it, so.
So then, for my purposes, because I haven't had to do this before, those don't have to be scheduled during workshop time. Those can be scheduled for a different.
Okay, if we're scheduling.
Okay. then I can just work with you. You can figure out who we need to coordinate with.
And then, perhaps at next meeting, then we'll, we can assign, I think it's probably my role to assign, but we'll discuss it, nominate her, if you want to volunteer. Pick 3, so we don't go over. Okay, thank you. Okay. So we don't take action on the, it's more just for information, right?
That's correct. One other thing that I'll add, we talked about this, so you can add your 2 cents here. For the hearing, 2 weeks on May 11th, as you look through materials, if you have certain amendments that you already have in mind to propose, we would encourage you to write those out and kind of do some of that thinking in advance. It just helps things to go a little bit more smoothly. Greg's the resident expert on writing motions in advance, I'm told.
Main motions.
Yeah. So, and if you have questions, I think, some of the longer tenured members of the committee or of the commission would be happy to walk you through that, but especially for the newer ones that maybe haven't been through before, that's just a helpful.
I guess the one thing I would say is that we follow Robert's rules, and if we can get a cheat sheet as far as how to make motions, how to make amendments, that would be really beneficial.
Yeah.
Hearing.
So, as a planning department, we'll be identify a resource or create one or something so that you guys have a few tips on making motions.
It's very, very simple, but I think in the last couple of years, we've got a little more disciplined on the main motion being very simple to approve what is proposed, and then we break down the numbers. I think in the past we've gone, it was a little sloppy, so we're getting better. I didn't mean to look at Greg.
Yeah.
It's probably me.
Wow.
That he knows.
Well, it was your turn after the.
So, okay, thank you. I think that's it. So thank you for, that concludes the briefing session, and we'll move into the workshop and welcome Nate and Amanda in person. Thank you.
I'm Nathan Nguyen, City's Spokane Planning Department. This is Amanda Beck, my colleague. We're back to present the next couple of workshop items. First, wrapping up the May 11th hearing items. Those effects. The first 3 topics coming forward as part of the residential development code initiatives. And then we'll take a break and talk about proposed changes for residential design standards. So looking at that, hope everybody can see the screen okay. Looking again at those May 11th hearing items, those subjects were accessory dwelling units, lot size transition, and short plat notification. So we've got a couple of issues to call out on accessory dwelling units and short plat notification. Again, then we'll take a quick break and go to dive into the text around to propose residential design standards for single family, detached and attached, and duplex developments. Talk about the menu of options, of menu approach for building facades, for design details, and for front and side yard landscaping. So kicking that off with May 11th hearing items. Start with accessory dwelling units. So this is at your next meeting, public hearing with the Planning Commission. This is a list of kind of where we left off with the Planning Commission and giving the highlights of some of the changes. The alternatives have been narrowed to these in the hearing draft that's posted for to collect and hear public testimony on these items. But there is still time to make changes. I want to make that clear in your recommendation to City Council. So this is generally just kind of reflects the last few months of process with you all in the session. Size, 64 square feet or 75% of the home square footage, whichever is greater. Then There's increased building coverage, 20% on some smaller lots, as well as floor area ratio bonuses affecting lots that are under 5,000 square feet, and then another threshold at lots that are under 7,200 square feet. And then there is a kind of selected the middle option in discussions with you on owner occupancy. So instead of having the owner reside in either the accessory dwelling unit or the main property or the main home on the site, this alternative would remove that requirement, except for when there's a short-term rental in either of the units on the property. So continue to require owner occupancy in the case of a short-term rental. And then there'd be one off-street parking space. So this is another kind of middle ground option. One off-street parking space, starting with 2-bedroom units. So one bedroom studio units would not require parking. And then
A question on that. Is that, we had talked about last time, so one for 2 bedrooms and an additional as you go up for additional bedrooms.
Correct.
I don't know how many bedrooms you would get into that size, but is that still the intent, that piece?
yeah, that text is still in there to add, so it's a 3-bedroom unit would require 2 parking spaces and so forth.
I guess actually, since this isn't the final language, right, that would be going in there, I was, the first line of, I know there was issue of the smaller lots can't hit the max 864. So I was just wondering if the language, was gonna include the word like max size. I think there'd be less confusion for people, for them, if they saw it this way, with like, it may be, except for if your lot is below this. But if it was the max size is 864 or 75%, whichever is greater, and then that would imply that that's I don't know.
Yeah,
That was the first thing that I thought of.
to be clear that there are other controls that
Yes.
may limit that 864.
Yeah.
So, such as storm water mitigation.
Or just floor area.
Yeah, well, related to stormwater is building coverage, so there's a lower threshold for building coverage, there is no review typically on single family developments, so. So they have a smaller building coverage, essentially single family. So we might want to reference the building coverage as like one of the
Controlling.
other controlling factors.
Yeah.
and limit to the size.
So if we just added a phrase at the end of that subsection of code that just said subject to
Yeah, I think that would.
additional, FAR and lot
People,
coverage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Removing owner occupancy unless it's a short-term rental, is that what you said?
Right. So yeah, we had talked about removing owner occupancy only in higher density zones where rentals are already prevalent. Or we talked about doing away with it altogether. We did talk about the 3-year option that the council had put forward, for discussion, because that was in the council's implementation plan. And then what we seemed to settle on with the planning commission in discussion was removing it in all cases except for short-term. So that would be easier to track in terms of the staff and monitoring than the 3-year option. But then it would still require, or still, I guess, maintain an owner on site where you have those potentially problematic situations with parking or noise associated with short-term rental.
Yeah. That's gonna be interesting to see.
Okay. I got one more thing to point out. We have, we took the new language, the last bullet here bolded, relates to the consultant's recommendation to allow for a accessory dwelling unit for a duplex. And so there's a zoning implication for this, which is that there are, we should be mindful that there are legal non-conforming duplexes and in some rare other occasions in the single family areas, residential single family zone. So we may be leaving residential single family duplexes that are legally existing off the table with this with this addition or the specification of just residential two-family and up. And then another kind of related factor is in residential high-density areas, this could prolong investments in single-family development by allowing for lower density, not necessarily single-family, but whether you do have a duplex or triplex in residential high-density, and the plan may expect or the city may expect that to convert to higher density. That's another kind of discussion point for consideration going forward, where you may not want to allow for accessory dwelling unit in addition to that duplex or triplex. But as drafted, it would include residential two-family through residential high density. Again, you can take testimony on that and make a recommendation if those are the right zoning categories. And then another thing to remember in terms of residential single family is that we expect for the duplex option to become available. So in addition to those pre-existing legal non-conforming duplexes, there may be new duplexes that are created, and the planning commission may want to recommend that those also have the option in residential single family to have that additional accessory dwelling unit. And I would just say, talking kind of internally with staff, we've been cautioned that this may kick the accessory dwelling unit up to a sort of commercial building review or into the commercial codes, because if you add 4th unit to a triplex, for example, or a 3rd unit to a duplex, that may have implications on change of use into a higher category or a different code category. So there's still some caveats there, but in some potential discussion, you may want to fine tune the text there. It's located on page 23 of your packet. But I want you to be aware that that's a new addition. It does respond. We've been talking about adding the option. The consultant's been recommending this option to allow an ADU in addition to a duplex, and so we think that this text kind of gets to that recommendation and focuses the conversation on the zoning categories.
When you say
Have-
it's a two different class, what are you referencing there? We're in our,
It's a building code thing, right?
It is. It also has to do with the fire code, and we're also, well, not us, but our reviewers at DOC would be looking at utility implications. So the intent is to try and add more units, and ADUs might be one of the ways, but what we're hearing from our counterparts is that it might actually be cost prohibitive, and so we're sort of shooting ourselves in the foot.
you mean it would kick you out, if you were in the IRC, it would kick you out of the residential code into the building code?
Correct. So I think they said, so for a duplex, that addition of an ADU, that would kick it into 3 units by the building fire code. That's the way they look at it. And so then you would go through a commercial review, you would be subject to totally different requirements. You'd have to handle stormwater, all of the improvements that would go with.
That's true even with detached? Yeah.
I don't think it has to do with attached or detached. It's the unit itself. So they're looking at the total number of units rather than is this attached or detached.
I think we can gather some more information there. The bottom line for our purposes is that just unlocking this in these zones doesn't necessarily make them feasible. I think that's really the takeaway here.
It also may play into that zone discussion, again, we want to limit it to RTF, where we probably won't encounter that issue, or RSF RTF.
Carol, do you have a question?
Thank you. I apologize. It's hard to understand everything that's being said. It's a little muffled, but I had a question in regards to the bullet point number 6, in regards to the ADUs in the residential multifamily and the high density areas. What would that look like? Where would you locate the ADUs in those areas? And how would the utilities connect to someone?
So I think as proposed, Carol, would just be throughout those zoning districts. And it would be applied similarly to if the primary structure was, the principal structure was a single family residence. The accessory dwelling unit would be subject to the same sort of setbacks and height and other regulations as if it was on the lot with a single family residence. And it would be expected to share utilities. It would be, those utilities would have to be upsized to whatever the design standards require at the time of permitting. Does that help?
Well, I think I understand what you're saying, that if you have an accessory dwelling unit on a property that has 30 residents, that would be the high density property, correct? And then, am I
Most
thinking of this
likely, yes.
correctly? And then, so you would have accessory dwelling units on those properties as well?
Yeah, there's
So
still
each-
a restriction to one per lot. So it would just be one additional unit.
I mean, it doesn't seem likely anyone would want to do that. They've got 30 units, but
I think where this probably has the biggest impact is in the RTF zone where you have duplexes. And somebody wants to build one in the backyard. Or if, as Nate mentioned, if it was extended to the single family zones, then you have some legal non-conforming duplexes from when they were built before we had zoning. And you would also be able to do an ADU on those properties. In addition to the discussion that, is ongoing here with Plan Commission about extending duplexes to the single family zones.
Okay, so Amanda will cover the next.
Well, I have a,
Very good.
yeah, on page 21, just the question about the conversion of existing interior basement or attic space may exceed maximum floor area. I get what our conversation is talking about, where we can use the full basement or the full attic. Just, I find that language to be confusing. And I don't know if that could be wordsmithed just to make it a little bit more clear. Like, an interior ADU may occupy the full basement or the full.
What makes it an ADU? That would be the question. What makes it an ADU? It is in the basement. Why isn't it just a spare room with a kitchen?
you can charge rent.
How does it, how is it an ADU? If I have my mom down there, I charged her. Why is it an ADU as opposed to just a room there?
Yes,
What's that?
it's an additional dwelling unit. So it has all of the characteristics of a complete self-contained dwelling unit.
Different meters than,
No,
Not in the case of an accessory dwelling unit, but it will have separate cooking facilities, so kitchen, it'll have separate sleeping area, it'll have a separate bathroom.
so we have a lot of those.
Does they have to have a separate entry?
I think it has, no, I don't think I said a separate entry.
You see what, where,
Yeah.
And there's also some technical reasons, I believe. Well, new construction, fire suppression, fire separation.
but I'm talking about, so, I mean, in all of our neighborhoods, we have this.
there's probably a lot of non-conforming.
Yeah, I think those are.
So I can read the definition of dwelling unit in the code, if that helps. It says a building or a portion of a building that has independent living facilities, including provisions for sleeping, cooking, and sanitation, and that is designed for residential occupancy by a group of people. Buildings with more than one set of cooking facilities are considered to contain multiple dwelling units unless the additional cooking facilities are clearly accessory, such as an outdoor grill.
Yeah, so I think it's, those are not forming that.
Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Well, they could still be conforming. right? I mean, we have existing ADU code.
But there's a lot that probably were built though without application.
Right.
That's a dwelling unit, it isn't an accessory building.
Well, so an accessory dwelling unit would be a dwelling unit that is accessory to the primary structure.
Right, so is that a basement?
So, I mean,
So like in a single family zoning area.
I know, that's what I'm
Only
going.
one is allowed per lot, and if there's more than one, then it's accessory.
So, if you could, is there some way we could define that? No, talk about what our company has done. They've covered these things.
No, it's a good point, and, because I think the question is more about the attached or the internal accessory dwelling unit rather than detached.
For an accessory dwelling unit, or is it an internal dwelling unit?
You heard me make the argument for a dwelling unit as a home, and so let's just call it a dwelling unit, but I think Director Garner's point is, it's in this context, clearly not the primary dwelling unit.
I mean, I always thought ADU had to be garage or
The detached.
a detached or a, and,
That'd be a detached accessory dwelling.
because I've got a basement that's got a separate unit, but
And I think it's important in this that we all understand, and it triggers the other things, in terms of water supply and the things that often trip up. You get down the path on the development side, I'm going to do an ADU, and then all of a sudden realize my 3/4 inch copper line is not sufficient for the additional technical requirements on the fire and supply sides.
we still, there must be a definition of ADU as DU.
There is. There's a definition for accessory dwelling units. It's a separate additional living unit, including separate kitchen, sleeping and bathroom facilities attached or detached from the primary residential unit on a single family lot.
And that's right in our 17A
17A.
definitions.
Commissioner Todd,
Yes, please, Carol.
I'd like to suggest that if we can just add that the ADU uses they have shared utilities and sewer systems, even though that may be known through the planning commission or through the planning department and people that sell real estate. It may not be known to the everyday person. So if there'd be some way that that could be included along with the description of the accessory dwelling unit, that they have shared utilities and sewer systems.
There's a handout that exists that I'm pretty sure has all of that outlined.
I'm just wondering if it would be possible to put it in our municipal code so that when people go to pull up our information, it's right there.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. It is in our code.
yeah, there is a section in the code that says an accessory dwelling unit must share the utilities with the primary structure.
Okay. Oh, great. Thank you.
It's not something we've talked about because we're not talking about changing it. But that is in the code.
Okay. I'd like to. Maybe you could send it to me where that is. That'd be great.
To address your concerns, Carol, I think that the best thing we can do is add a slide moving forward to let people know. If you look on page 30 of your agenda packet, it notes it right there. But so moving forward, what we can do is add a slide that talks about the fact that accessory dwelling units will extend utilities from their primary and their address off of the primary, so they can't have their own. The things that are trying prompt that they are accessory to the main house.
Okay, thank you.
Description of ADU is also in the code as well. And
Correct. It's 17A 020.010 for A definition.
yeah.
17A.
17A 020.010, that's A definition.
Okay. Thank you. I'll look. Thank you very much.
The handout's also really handy that it pulls all of that stuff together in an easy to read 2-page PDF if anyone wants to read all of it.
Good question, Carol.
Thank you.
So the next item is going for hearing on May 11th will be the lot size transition. Following our workshop on February 23rd, staff reworked the draft to take option one, which was to strike that language from the code. Again, the recommendation of that is the intent of the code, which is to have lot size transitions that are compatible with the existing surrounding development, is really resulting in developers who add, say, length to the lots to get to the square footage requirement rather than dimensional matching, which would kind of compatibly transition from larger size lots to something a little bit smaller. So since we're not giving the actual intent with the code, and we are trying to encourage more units, more lots, we're removing it. You'll see that in your packet for the May 11th hearing. And then we will talk about the last one.
Okay, yeah, the last one is the short plat notification. So this is in your packets. The first option, text being the one we talked about for some time. We first brought it to the Plan Commission in January. So this is for 17G1. That's on page 31 through 41 of the packet. And that's the one that would probably familiar with, finding that there'd be no notice for, no public notice, although there would continue to be notice for agencies and neighborhoods and so forth as part of the application completeness determination. So there's an associated 2-week period there. But as far as public notice for 2 lots, there'd be no mailed notice, no site posting, and then that 15-day comment period that follows the agency notification period would be eliminated. And then for 3 to 9 lots, there would continue to be mailed notice, but then it would become a bit less expensive with no site posting. So no sign posted on the site for that 15-day comment period. And then we have put in another version, another option, 17G2, and that's on pages 42 through 53 of the packet. And just speaking with staff, we identified another option to substitute this other option. And the staff were recommending this is better because defining with the process for review, there are additional criteria that are identified in this version, 17G2 for minor engineering review. And so this includes, this is something we'd like to suggest you consider at your hearing. This includes, the criteria include existing frontage and existing right-of-way that's improved. No extension is required for water, sewer, or utilities, and then there's no easements for infrastructure that are required. And that just aligns better with the workflow and the review of the city's review of the proposal. That also means that there's not any disturbance to the ground, basically, other than when the lots are developed. So put a placeholder in here. I guess it helps us focus the attention on the number of lots. So as proposed, it would include that definition of minor engineering review 2 lots, although that could be a variable that is changed. It could be a different threshold, or it could be, up to 9 if there was no number of lots specified, because that's a short plat could be up to 9 lots. And so then that would be the change to, instead of the threshold being 2 lots, it would be for minor engineering review, where there's, again, still agency notice, still neighborhood council notification, but not the public notice following that determination of completeness. And then 3 to 9 lots, that would be continuing to do the mailed notice. So instead of the, and actually that could change based on the number of lots as well. So that could be a different number of lots, but if it's subject to standard engineering review, easements are required or extension of utilities is required. And then there are 2 areas that are special drainage districts that would be affected. So those would still continue to be required for standard engineering review. But other than that, that's pretty much the change. It is, we've substituted in the hearing draft this second option, 17G2, and really trying to align better with our workflow, and then leave it to any discussion in the next few minutes on this change, and perhaps talking about a different number of lots. If there's like 3 or 4 lots that can be created under a minor engineering review, perhaps that's a better fit. All right.
Okay, I'm having trouble with the no notice. Especially, does no notice mean no big sign notice? I would prefer somewhere it says that it's notice to the neighborhood councils, et cetera.
Yeah.
Because no notice sounds like nothing's gonna be said.
Yes, that it is not no notice. The provision about the neighborhood council notification would continue to be unchanged. That section of code is not.
Okay, so no notice doesn't really mean no notice.
Right.
Okay,
It means
I'm just
no
trying to
public
get
comment
English
period
here
followed.
because,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
So, yeah, so
that makes a big difference. Like, we have a short plat right in our neighborhood now, and I sent it out, and I don't know if there's gonna be any comments or not, but people know about it. And if they choose to dig in and figure it out, fine. But it's not that it was a total surprise, and I think that's really important. There will likely be more pushback than you really wanted.
So this is sort of a continuation, as you know, neighborhoods, the neighborhood councils were brought in as agencies essentially during the agency comment period, during these short plats. And so this is sort of following on from that change to recognize that now that we've put the neighborhoods in place as official, parts of the agency comment period, that the posted notice and the mailed notice were sort of redundant.
Right.
And so what we're proposing, and you're right, the language no notice is a little bit
It should say
confusing.
no further notice.
We're talking about removing the mailed notice and the posted notice, but
Right.
there is still the neighborhood.
So it should probably read no notice beyond agency notice.
Yeah.
Or something like that, because that doesn't say it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering if you could put a footnote there that says agency notice still occurs.
Agency notices, including neighborhood council. It's an important point to explain to.
Saying the words neighborhood council actually would help too, because I got several phone calls already saying, what do you mean?
Looking at that public feedback on the emails, there were a lot of concerns over that, specifically neighborhood council notification.
So speaking.
No,
as
I
am for
I
council,
just understood this over the last week and I had the same question. So I think you're right. If we can add agency, and then make sure everyone understands that
that agency.
neighborhood councils have been elevated to this agency level.
Oh, well.
Well, but it's what people are concerned about.
Oh, it is. I'm not just being
Yeah.
funny, only to myself, I think.
So then in the, a change in the code that we could make to address that concern is that whenever we say that no notice is required for the minor engineering review, except that subject to section, whatever section of code where we say neighborhood councils get notice, neighborhood
I
councils
just
still,
spell it out instead of having somebody do that.
The problem with spelling out there is that the other one changes, then you have to change it in all the others.
so yeah, we'd like to
I get
reduce the
that.
amount of
Yeah,
redundant code, but at the same time, making that clear
that's
would
the part
help
I,
us to understand how that process works. I think we can come up with some
Yeah,
language.
yeah, I'm not gonna try and wordsmith it.
That's an easy change.
Commission, can I just ask a point of clarification? So we want added language to the code itself that refers back to 17G that talks about agency notice, which includes neighborhood councils. Easily, we can add more information to the slide, but I just want to make sure if we need to add language to the code itself that we.
You're talking about a footnote.
I like the idea of a footnote because it's right there in the table.
Or C.
Okay.
Reference that part of the code so you can monkey.
Something.
I mean, there's lots of footnotes already associated with that table, so including a footnote that says agency notice, including neighborhood council, still occurs.
It would, however, add something to the slide though, for the benefit of the public to receive.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because that's what they're gonna see
Fine.
when they have their public comment.
the wording on the slide is definitely something we can fix.
But clarification in the code or at least in the table would be very helpful for those people down the road that, oh crap, I didn't know that the councils were doing this. I want to do this under the table.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, no, that's never happened. That's why different councils have got D&O insurance now.
So I have a separate comment. I guess I'm okay with the whole minor engineering review. It just feels to me like it's less clear in the code. That, the table very clearly, when it's with option 17G1, clearly states 2 lots, no numbers. And the other one creates a little bit more ambiguity. You have to look further into the code to see, okay, what qualifies, what doesn't qualify? Is it a minor engineering review? Is it not? So that's my only comment. I'm okay with it. We have so much modern code that's so confusing anyway, that maybe this is about right.
Can I add the reason that this change came about, Nate hinted at it, is that we're also looking at our fee structure. And that this distinction between minor engineering review and standard engineering review became sort of important for understanding how our fees should be charged. And the reason that we charge the fee that we do is because short plats require engineering review, and that's a heavier lift on the part of the city, and so we charge a higher fee. It actually used to be, until I think a year or two ago, that our current planners had found essentially a loophole to charge a lower fee to the kinds of subdivisions that fit within that minor engineering review definition. But during an audit process, some concerns were raised, and so they've stopped doing that. This sort of legitimizes that practice again, so that when they know that there's not a lot of effort on the part of the city to review these subdivisions, we're not charging a higher fee than we really should be. And that in order to do that, we really had to create this other class of short plat review. So that's why we went with that more complicated.
Follow-on question to that.
Yeah.
Then why the inclusion of the numbers on the lots then? It seems like you're using sort of 2 sets of criteria there. It seems like you could say for short plats that are minor engineering versus standard engineering numbers out of that. We're talking about a difference level. Just like trying to extra steps.
Well, the number isn't called out in the table.
It's just on the slide.
It says minor versus standard.
The number is called out in the draft code for the minor engineering.
Section F, or, the subdivision will only result to.
Yeah, it's subsection F. So Jesse, your point is, if we're differentiating already between subdivisions that have an impact by extending utilities or creating new right-of-way versus subdivisions that don't, the 2-lot distinction is sort of not necessary.
Yeah, it's just another level that someone has to try a little bit here. Actually, if I'm here and I'm doing 3 lots and it's still a minor thing, but I need to do all these other steps now. 3 lots instead of 2. And the city's already said there's a limited set of information.
I agree, unless there's another reason that 2 to 3 is different, the logic breaks down because something else establishes 9.
Because that's the short lot.
And that's just it. And then beyond there, it's, you mess with the right of way
Yeah,
and
it's
public infrastructure or
or
not,
they're not.
to do the public
Right.
interest, if not. I agree.
Is there a charge for this minor engineering review, and then how quickly would a person expect to be able to get the review done?
So the fee structure is such that there's not, the eventual fee proposal, which Plan Commission doesn't have to hear because it's not part of Chapter 17. But the eventual fee proposal would have a lower fee for the minor engineering review short plat, but the short plat fees is just it's a short plat fee. In other words, it's not like we charge you for your application, and then we charge you for the engineering review, and then we charge you for other steps of the process. It's all rolled together. And so what we're recognizing is that for the short plats that qualify for minor engineering review, you shouldn't have to pay as much. That answered the question.
To answer part of it, how long would these things would take to go through then? I mean, I've got my application already, and is it within a week?
So we talked about the time frame with the current planners. I think one of the changes with the way that noticing occurs is that if we're not mailing notice and we're not doing the posted notice, that also removes the 15-day comment period. For public comment, there's still the agency period during which the neighborhood councils would submit their comments. But we eliminate that 15-day public comment period. And then there's also like kind of a week on either end where you're doing work to get the signs set up and get the mailings out, and you're doing work at the other end to summarize. So that in all, you're probably saving about a month just with the notice, the changes to notice. The engineering review part is really dependent on what the engineers need to review. So it's hard to say with any specific short plat how much time you're saving. But in general, from our discussions with this minor engineering review, there's really just not much engineering work at all involved in that. And so you'd still have the land use, the consistency with the subdivision code. And I think, we talked through this timeline. I don't want to give you a specific number, but you're basically cutting off all of that standard engineering review time at the end that could take anywhere from a couple of weeks to even months if it's a more complicated project. So.
Yeah, it would get rid of the comment period as well. So you wouldn't have the notification district map. That's an extra fee of $150. You wouldn't have that hold on the time where the decision isn't being written because you got to wait for the comments to come in. Can't really make any progress, so you can just go ahead and decision. So that would save weeks.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, the timeline that we looked at was something on the order of like a month, where currently it could be anywhere from like 2 to 6 months, depending on how complicated that review process gets. So,
Okay, thanks.
So we've covered the 3 hearing topics. I propose that we since these are the hearing items, I propose we take a 5-minute break, if that's okay, to kind of separate the things that are going forward for hearing versus the rest of the next workshop.
No, it's a good tactic. Make one comment back to one of the first slides on the BDU. So it seems like we're at a point now where we're preparing for hearing under these bullet points of kind of 2 or 3 options of each one, and it landed here, and sometimes there's a compromise and so forth, but you kind of got input on all 3 of those, the staff and so forth. And my question would be as a whole, so when you blur your eyes on as the package, do they make sense together? And maybe the second part would be, is there a simpler way now that you say, okay, this feels right, there's a simpler way to accomplish all of those and with one of the things. And I know that seems like it's blowing the problem up, but I think it's actually converging it, because I think everyone through the process has understood how it got here, but can you achieve that without, it's still confusing, right? Always will be, but.
You're talking about bullets 1 through 3.
Right.
Basically.
Can we achieve that same balance we think we have here now with one of those things?
It's like too much math.
So.
Like a really long equation.
We're almost reopening the discussion of do we need a maximum size at all when there are considerations that are really.
If I, as a designer, went through or if I threw a bunch of students at it, and this is always what we do in architecture school, right? And they go through and they figure all the different criteria and they come up with, okay, the blob looks like this. So we get the same blob by something simpler now.
Maybe it wasn't confusing.
Yeah. I mean, this just gets to like what we do in codes all the time is there's this complicated math of how we do it, and then there's the prescriptive. It's this. And that covers 90% of the cases, and here's the way if you think you're smarter. 10%.
The only thing I think of just immediately is that it could be that although this obviously could be simplified, the way that the existing other code is, because it has both lot, building coverage and floor area ratio, unless we change that to be simpler, then this probably be.
Except that we're adding extra
The-
size
the-
criteria, extra set.
Yeah, it's the top one that's
Yeah.
kind of the, yeah.
Carol, go ahead and just jump in. I'm sorry if I keep missing because the little hand.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I know everyone had comments. I wanted to, I've got a comment on the accessory dwelling unit, so I'm glad we popped there, back there. And then I have another comment on the short plats. And my question, since we're back to the accessory dwelling units on page 23, I had a question about what defines the number of individuals that reside in both units. It says that reside in both households. So we're not, the two are not supposed to exceed that. So what's the number for the total number in the household that the accessory dwelling unit as well as the major house should not exceed?
Carol, that's going to be, it's going to be determined by the codes for how many people are permitted to occupy the space. So it's going to depend on the size of the floor area of the dwellings on the lot. It used to be that a household could be defined as a family or a set number of unrelated individuals, but that isn't allowed anymore. So now it's controlled by the building and health code.
And that's higher up in 17C defined, right?
It's not defined in 17C.
Oh.
It's different separate codes.
That's always,
Okay.
that's the thing, is like, how do you figure out where do you go find the other thing that's referencing? And this doesn't, point you back. I'd go look in 17C and then I'd be like, oh, can't find it.
It used to be defined.
Right, when it was the unrelated.
Right. And this is, this is the point of the discussion about the size is that is the way to control the number of people who live who live in both units is by how much
Okay.
floor area you allow.
So it's based on the floor area. So many square feet of floor area equates to how many people it's designed to live in that house.
Sort of, it's going to be based on, things like bedrooms, number of bedrooms, and occupiable space.
I see. Okay.
Right,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
You have something on the short plats?
And my question on the short plats goes back to, let me go back here for a minute. I noticed, thank you, Nathan, in the Venmo, the video that you mentioned that the short plats are up to 9. A short plat can be up to 9 plots. But I don't see that in the Spokane Municipal Code. I am looking under the 17G.080.040 where it says short subdivisions. And this is the one for, I believe it's for the short plat. And I'm just wondering, I'd like to make a suggestion that we put under there, because that, if you click on the numbers that come before that, it will lead you to the section for short plats. And I would like to suggest that we could add the definition for a short plat somewhere, something like anything, any houses or any plots 9 or less, or because I notice in some cities it's considered 4 or less. So I'm wondering if we can define that.
Yes, it's defined in the different section, 17A, 020, 190, those are the S definitions.
Okay, so would it be possible to put it over here as well, since that one takes you, uh, I don't have it on my screen now, but if I click on short plats, it takes me to here, I thought. So would it be, could we make it just as clear that we just put a short definition in there as to what a short plat is?
Or link to 17A.
Yeah.
They have to find in.
I'd recommend, yeah, we would look back to the definition.
Yeah.
And could you repeat that 17A.020 point, what was the last one?
190.
490, okay.
Sorry, 190.
One, thank you. Maybe something just to even refer back to that. I think that was a good suggestion as well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So to go back, Carol's comment about number of residents, looking at that code, I had a similar question. It's like, oh, the number in a household. What the heck does that mean? Can we just put a reference to where that's defined? I mean, if it's.
Even if it's in
SMC,
RCW or.
yeah,
where-
whether it's RCW or SMC that defines the size of a household. Just so, people don't have to search all over the place for it.
Yeah, we can
That
take
would
a
be-
look and see
That
what
would be a great idea.
what the appropriate
Sometimes you
citation.
can help me find it right now. I just saw that Washington strikes down household size caps.
Yeah.
That's the issue, yeah, we're preempted by state law,
Right,
we can't regulate household size.
but if we reference that it's a state, state law that defines it, that would help. This.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the state, I don't know if there's any litigation on that or.
I'm looking for it still.
Because that was the court decision, right?
Yeah.
Because there's legislative, I'm not really up on it, but I think it's an RCW that is set in and so through the legislature was
Senate Bill 5235.
Senate Bill 5235.
Well, it had to become law, or Senate bill was.
Well, yeah,
But if there's an RCW that can be referenced, that would be great.
We'll try to look and see where that's at. That's one of the things we were tracking for sure as part of the size discussion, right? Because that's going to be important. All right,
If you do the research, then all the people that want to build an ADU.
pardon me.
I'd rather us do the research now
Yeah.
than all the people that are asking that question and then call current planning and say, how big's the
on
household?
your text board.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a break. Good job. Thank you.
3:20.
Governor, no, the original.
Already good.
I
Thank
think
you.
they can hear me pretty well. It's probably you guys facing this. way.
Yeah, I think that's helpful, yeah. Okay, we're back, so thank you. Nate and Amanda.
So I'm going to start out with these first couple of slides. So we wanted to just quickly summarize some of what we talked about in our March 9th workshop. This was the last time. By the way, we took a break to make it clear that what we're talking about now is not going to hearing. This is design standard duplex townhouse stuff that we're still in the development stages. So we wanted to summarize the March 9th workshop. That was the last time we talked about specifically about design standards. So just kind of reiterating what we said there, the intent of the design standards is to create a menu of options. We don't want to box anybody into a specific design decision other than we want to set some kind of floor for, bare minimum standards that prevent some of the worst abuses that we've seen over time. We've also looked at trying to provide options that meet a range of cost constraints so that you're trying to do a lower budget project, you have options there. If you're doing a high-end project, you also have some options that meet requirements. And again, we're just trying to set that bar. Go ahead. Next. So, and we also wanted to just quickly touch on the duplex and townhouse, which is sort of rolled up into this design standard discussion. So what we've talked about in the past is that the duplexes and the townhouses would be allowed in the single family zones, and that we would, for density purposes, when we're calculating the allowable density, that those would be treated as half a unit. And that the square footage of those units would be limited to 1,200 square feet. So that we would essentially be incentivizing smaller units and a more compact housing type. And so that, that pretty well summarizes what we had talked about in the past. One of the questions, and I don't know if you wanted to pause on this, was the 1,200 square foot limit. Again, the purpose was to sort of emphasize the smaller unit size and create the incentives for those smaller units. Does anybody have thoughts about that as a strategy or the 1,200 square foot?
I think that's awfully small.
I like the 1,200, that's how big my house is.
But for a family with 1 or 2 kids,
Let's have 2 bedrooms.
but.
It could have 3 even.
I'm just telling you from my perspective as a realtor, that's awfully small.
Well, yeah. But that's why you get the bonus for the 1 unit. You can still build a duplex, it just has to be on a bigger lot, right?
Well, what we're saying here with the 1,200 square foot limit is that you would be able to build it as if it were a single family home.
Right. And get the 1 unit for the density.
But you would have the 2 units on that one.
I think it fundamentally, we trace where it came from. It seems like it came from a house that can be about 2,400 square feet, and so it's divided by 2. But I think the challenge there is that it doesn't allow you flexibility of design to say, well, what if I want a 3/4, 1/4? Is so forth.
Yeah.
Well, it came from the consultant's recommendation that the 1,200, this is what they've used in other communities in Washington. And they have the similar kind of regulatory framework that we have in Spokane. And then they also mentioned that this note at the bottom, addresses the 0.5 FAR that's that allows basically the point at which this becomes the single family house would become larger than the total square footage would be at a 4,800 square foot lot. So if you had like a 5,000 square foot lot, you could have a 2,500 square foot home, but still only a 2,400 square foot between the 2 duplexes. If you had an 8,000 square foot lot, you could have a 4,000 square foot single family residence. This would still limit it to a duplex of 1,200 square feet each. So
it's more limiting.
It's more limiting, but.
And the not flexible size makes sense
So
too.
clarifying question here, is this intended to be the vehicle by which duplexes and attached homes are allowed in family zones? Only if they meet this 1,200 square foot characteristic, or is this just?
The exception, right?
This is an incentive to try and get towards the affordability, but no, you're not limiting duplexes or attached houses with that.
So that whole conversation is to come.
Yeah.
Would that sort of obviate or, make irrelevant this whole conversation? Should that go through at some point?
The minimum lot size was like huge for a duplex.
Yeah, 8,700 square feet.
Yes.
But Jesse, I think what you're asking, the half dwelling unit for density calc head fake is that's one question.
Yeah.
And is that what you're asking? Because that is the only way to get to that density calc under current.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question of density count, I think, is not, from my perspective, is not as much of a concern. So I don't know that that needs to drive the discussion so much. Amanda's point about it being an incentive, I think, is an important part for trying to create opportunities for the smaller units and the less expensive house types, basically. So, and this is something I'm not familiar with, you know better than I do. Duplexes are currently allowed, they just have really large lot standards, is that right?
Well, only in two-family zones too.
And only in the two-family zone, so.
Yeah, the point was that it really wouldn't work in residential single family unless they had this provision, because otherwise you wouldn't see, you just have people building more single family units instead of trying to find lots large enough to be able to build a duplex. This is really the only way to see duplex development is to allow for an exception to the density of, which would require 8,700 square feet for 2 units.
I'm sorry, these are discussions we should have internally, but can you clarify that 8,700 is?
That's basically a fifth of an acre. It's
Right.
twice the minimum lot size. So, in order to have 2 units, you'd have to have fifth of an acre under the density provisions.
Because
In order to not exceed the 4 to 10.
Right.
Limited
based on
scope.
the parcel size.
Yeah, and what I'm suggesting and have started to suggest with council and others is that I think we can make decisions about, for example, the density calculations based on what happens in practice and not what happens under some theoretical scenario where every single lot gets built out at that density. And so we know that current development is happening at about between 5 and 6 units per acre, even in new developments. So under current code, we're not even close to pushing up to that 10 unit per acre. And then in our existing neighborhoods, in most cases, we're also not up against that 10 unit per acre, and those are existing houses, so you wouldn't be converting all of that stock anyway. So that's what I mean when I say that I think based on the past discussion, I'm not sure that the density has to really drive that. But then there's, I guess, the incentive.
Real quick, 1,200 square feet, is that plate size? Is that occupiable space or
Occupiable space.
so if they build out a basement that
They have it at 1,200, yeah, down there. I think it's 4 feet below the grade. Of the east side, like that. So it's basically a basement. Yeah, 10 foot.
so they basically could get 2 2,400 square foot units if they build out a basement.
I think we have to be clear what value system using
Yeah.
with 1,200 because the market doesn't want 1,200, but other value systems do, and want smaller, smaller and so forth. But I think it's not clear to me. 1,200 comes.
If it's the idea that 1,200 is, that more 1,200 units would be less expensive to build and then thereby less expensive to rent or purchase, that sounds like where this is coming from. And we want to incentivize lower cost housing.
It's just not how we, like, if it's easy to understand that we do like a new development, here's the mix, right? Mix of units and so forth. But we don't think of it, we maybe should think of our existing neighborhoods of what's the mix of targets we're trying to get. One mix of these lower 400 or 500s and these. And so it just doesn't allow us to do that if we think about infill holistically.
And if we're converting existing housing, that 1,200 might not match up equally. It might be that one unit's going to be, because the ground floor versus the upper floor or something like that, that it could exclude them from the option to convert to a duplex. So it feels maybe a little strict.
And I appreciate the work of the consultants, but I know it's just a diagram. I would never build that. So, and it's challenging to me because it implies that there's some sort of truth to what is being proposed there.
And they always show side by side and not stacked. That's what I always said.
Todd, to your point about where the 1,200 came from, We need to go back and double check, but I think that is in Commerce's guidance about housing action plans that came out a couple years ago. Which Makers was a part of, so that, I don't know what kind of experience they have pulled from to develop that, and that might be from their code provisions and other Washington. I think that might be where it is, because it's also mentioned in our housing action plan.
And our cottage sizes, and there's a precedent, it sounds.
Do you want to mention to the density rounding? thing?
Yeah, so, is that on the next slide?
It's on this one, then just.
Oh, got it. Sorry. So another thing that I suggested that we should add to this discussion is the way that we round the density when we're calculating density. So currently it's sort of a confusing, speaking of confusing sections of code, there's two different locations where we talk about rounding for maximum unit count. One of them is talking about when subdivisions are happening, and the other is for when you're calculating the maximum number of units on site on a specific lot. In talking with current planning, they feel like we can collapse those sections of code into the same section and treat the rounding process in the exact same way. And our suggestion is that we just round it up to the next whole number. So if your allowable number of units is 6.1, then you get 7. And if your allowable number of units is 98.2, you get 99. So on. So the current rounding on the lot is at 0.5. That's where it cuts it off. Just suggesting that we would change that to round that up to the next one number. It's a little thing that can help those smaller projects to pencil. And it doesn't really impact the bigger projects because you're talking about the difference between.
98.
So that was a suggestion that that we've added to this for discussion. I don't know if anybody wants to provide any feedback on that.
Is that a different definition of rounding than anything else would ever expect? Don't you have to?
Your taxes
spell
do
it out?
that.
That goes to the nearest dollar.
Yeah.
No, they actually,
Always round up.
it's at 50 cents where it changes. I would think it would be workable to make.
The roundup function in Excel.
Yeah, you say round up. Yeah, I was gonna say, Excel lets you do it.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's important to smaller projects that we not the same pressure on what build cities.
And especially like you said, we're not bumping up against our max density pretty much anywhere anyway. And if there's a smaller unit, they're gonna be surrounded by other less or differently dense developments likely, so.
I appreciate from the consultants, that we asked, what other cities do both density and FAR? And I seem to remember that it was that not a lot do both. And then I think that maybe what I've been wondering, should we really be doing bonus, structures for both density and FAR? What do we really, given our value system, we were really talking about FAR helps us control bulk and open space and things like that. Density probably is better for infrastructure decisions and, transit and roads and things like that, but I could be wrong on that. This is my interpretation. The density is an experiential thing most of the time in our neighborhoods. When Rockwood and Comstock are at 2 units an acre or whatever it is. It's not really the quality we're talking about. We're talking about space.
Yeah, and then there's the whole net versus gross densities that I think we've maybe been, as a city, been purposely kind of vague about that. And you have a neighborhood that's never going to evolve past 60 units an acre net density, then it's even worse if you live in gross density. So there's probably some other ways to approach this question.
That That is actually a secondary, perhaps a secondary discussion point, which is the density section. We calculate density, at least for subdivision purposes, is looking at the net density. So you're subtracting out the roads and open space and things like that. And it might be worth considering changing that to gross density, which would increase the unit count and keep us so that when you're considering that density, you're including some of those areas that aren't built.
Well, another thing that we ran into, one of our changes we made a couple of years ago is the minimum lot size was always based upon the calculation of the maximum dwelling units per acre. And we kept on having larger lot sizes, and you could never average out to 10 units per acre because you have, 5 larger lot sizes, but you could never make those other lot sizes small enough to ever get up to 10. So unless every lot was at the, at the smallest lot size, that was the only way you could ever hit that high end of the target. And I always thought of that as a problem and tried to change it at that point, and it just went nowhere.
So it's interesting because we've had some discussions as staff about that. And I think that we could include something that looks at lot size averaging. If you think it's worth us including with some of these other proposals that we're looking at, I think the expectation is that we would wait and work through duplex townhouse. And then maybe pivot to something like that. So it is something that I'm aware of, at least I think as staff we talked about it.
Yeah, we built up the pocket development provision, which is sort of lot size averaging for the development itself.
Yeah.
Where you take the total area and you don't necessarily care how big the lot is. So it's not like there isn't another way to get anything smaller than the minimum lot size. It's just you have to go through that provision, which has the additional design standards that are similar to what we're proposing right now.
Has there ever been, you talked about where we've actually hit as far as density in our single family neighborhoods? Is there like a map that's ever been created that shows, I've looked at it on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis and did some basic calculations, but it would be great to see a
Like a
GIS map that says, wow, we're hitting 4 here.
Mr. Gwynn put one together for the 2016 it's an appendix.
Yeah, it was actually my colleague Homer Kari, but yeah, we have that in the infill report in 2016.
Why I should have. Sorry.
No, but seriously, those are really good maps in that appendix.
Is it on the GIS?
It's just in a PDF.
Oh. I mean, there's.
Well, we don't
something
get
there.
access to the GIS.
Like.
Right.
But yeah, well, so I think we're going to briefly discuss the pocket residential development standards too. So that was all kind of part of that discussion.
I just feel like we've never hit our, these density levels that they're just all theoretical, that we're great at hitting the low end. We're very poor at hitting the high.
Yeah, that comes back to my suggestion of the comp plan that when we're talking about densities and controlling densities, that we focus on what's happening in practice rather than, I think a lot of the emphasis so far has been on a theoretical scenario where everything gets built out.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah. And that's just not what we see in practice.
Right.
So when we discuss the density and comp plan, I think we need to shift to a mindset of what's happening.
In those 2016 maps, the other map that's really good, and you look at it side by side, there's the current development density, and then there's the lot size. And you just look at those two patterns and you go, yeah, we're never going to get to 10 at some of these areas. And then what I think is really interesting now with the housing action plan is we've added, I say we like I did. City has added now awesome maps on displacement and other things. And so now we should be looking at all those together and saying, somebody needs to raise a question. I mean, this is not a political statement. What if you just threw away density like some cities have, like Berkeley? Would anything really change? And do we have enough we're already gonna do displacement measures and so forth. I would challenge that doesn't mean anything. FAR probably matters more, and do a density bonus structure and then use displacement restrictions so we understand and protect neighborhoods that be at threat. It's a development that would push out residents.
Straight 17G.
Well, but read what Berkeley did. They did. They just said density doesn't matter and isn't the controlling mechanism and will not affect the outcome.
Well, that's actually. Friend look at
The
that.
effect of the city as it is right now.
Yeah.
And when you
99% of the city is what it's gonna be.
So can I ask a clarifying question? When you're talking about density and what Berkeley did, for example, talking about unit counts, there's still controls on the bulk of
FAR
of buildings and things. And that gets back to, I guess, the point you.
and dimensional standards. They
Yeah,
didn't change
so
any
there are
dimensional
dimensional standards, there are bulk standards. You're suggesting that the unit count just shouldn't be the driver of the decision.
They didn't,
Is that,
so far they haven't changed any of the dimensional standards, but then they put the FAR bonus structure in place to encourage if they want certain building typologies, or if you do preservation, you get a 2.2 bump, or if you
so
check the canopy, you get a whatever.
to bring it back to our 1,200 square foot discussion here, it sounds like what you're suggesting is that we don't need any kind of cap on those units, and we can just allow the existing standards for bulk and
Yeah, because it's
and
gonna fit a
coverage
lot.
to govern how large the building can be, and then the owner gets to decide where they draw the line, or whether they draw a line at all, to keep it single family, two family, or whatever arrangement.
It's not only what it fits on the lot, but it's the perception
Yeah.
of the bulk of the building. And usually a lot of what neighborhoods have issues with is this sort of specter of massive apartment building. Through FAR.
And if you want to go the other way, look at Ellensburg, who threw FAR out, and then it's a little more confusing though, but they use density bonuses to get to their incentives. So
FAR is just such an effective.
it's easier to understand, I'm sure.
Well, it is, and it's easier to get bonuses, and it's easier to.
So in this though, it would still have to be a bonus to allow a duplex, or maybe do we just not have a minimum lot size for duplexes?
Well, the current single family code does not envision duplexes.
Right.
So there is no
Well-
lot size for a duplex.
So given the like suggested other, that's been proposed.
So in the proposal you're talking about, then we would not have any minimum lot
Right.
size. And we would just say you could build a duplex
In a single.
as if it were a single family home. And does that summarize
Yeah.
what you're saying? Oh, yeah.
I don't think-
One thing I did. That pretty well covers what, the part of that slide, unless anybody.
The part where we discovered it. the whole slide.
Yeah. I wanted to just summarize really quickly the developer interviews. So in light of our discussion in March, where we talked about design standards, one of the things that was raised is that we need to be talking to the people who are actually building projects to understand from their perspective what these design guidelines, how they're going to be received. I set up some interviews with several developers that work on smaller projects that I know. And just kind of ran through what we were talking about. They had some specific suggestions for, I think, items that we could add. But the overall message I think that we got from that was, first of all, most of them were not diametrically opposed to the idea of design standards. Nobody was like, design standards are terrible, don't do it. What they really wanted was to make sure that we're providing a wide range of options. The way that we've written the standards is as a menu. So you choose, You've got 6 items and you have to get 2 of them or whatever. So from their perspective, they really just wanted to make sure we're covering all of the design possibilities so that they can easily meet those standards. And I think that fits with the intent that we've had all along, which is we're not trying to impose extra costs or tell people what to do with their design. We're trying to catch the 1 or 2 bad actors who come in and slap up the cheapest, ugliest thing they possibly can get away with, and then pull out and leave the neighborhood with this Lennon of a house or structure. So I just wanted to summarize some of what we heard from the developers. And I guess that sort of gets to the slides, so I'll let you guys take it back over.
But not all design standards that are listed in here are menu-based. There are some that apply to every.
Well, maybe you can go to the summary, because the next slide summarizes our current standards, right?
Right, so we touched on this at the March 9th. We do have baseline existing standards, so we have the ones that control for both with maximum coverage and FAR. And then depending on what kind of building you're building, there are different standards that are available. And then cottage and pocket residential have specifically tailored for those ones. Addressing parking, lighting, those private access drives. And then that is within the frame of our design guidelines and how to implement them. So you have our capital R requirements, key presumptions, and then those key considerations or presumptions and considerations allow you some flexibility in the intent of the standards and guidelines. And the requirements have a higher threshold, so you would go through design departure. But it's right now, we go to design review board. With a little hour, if it's helpful to address your question, we can jump to the ones that talk about what we've added or rearranged and added into that section.
Could just you remind us the difference between a design guideline and design standard?
Yes. So,
And that's one-on-one, but thank you.
No, it's a good question. So the design guidelines that Dave Taylor have been working on are for like more major projects, like big public buildings, that sort of stuff, or stadium that would be going in. Those sort of projects would be subject to citywide design guidelines. So they came over you to talk about the updates. Design standards are really more looking at those one-off smaller projects, so residential or duplex, and we're just looking at baseline way to make sure, even in our current code, that it's compatible with the existing neighborhood, that it's not kind of applied by a developer, it's just stopping something out.
But a standard is a requirement,
Correct.
correct?
Yes, so.
Whereas a guideline is, let's talk about this.
Helps interpretation by
Yes.
such a body like design review,
So
Because those have to go for design review
or the staff has to.
because of the size of the project.
yeah, so the updated design guidelines, and I'm sure Dean can talk about it much better than I can, but it's meant to clarify for the design review staff. That way there's less gray area over, one designer comes in and later we get someone different who doesn't like a certain thing. Trying to make that clarified for the applicants and also the staff to review and the design report. For our purposes, the design standards that are in the code, G, those are also trying to remove gray area for the current planners, but it's not in such a grand, like such a large project. And also I think the design guidance as something that's probably a large building or a large intent fits within the existing neighborhood. We can also add a check to keep these out. These are good comments.
Yeah, they tend to be quantitative too, rather than qualitative, like the guidelines.
It's more easy to check a box versus like,
Yeah, I think it's a good just intro slide there.
yeah.
I always need to be reminded, and I think, and hearing it's always good. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. So We have added some content. We've reorganized some existing standards into this new 17C 110.305. And we're proposing to simplify and streamline design standards by applying them to all residential types instead of calling out this is attached, or this is a duplex, or this is an ADU. So I think that makes it much simpler if you're the person on the other side of the counter, so it's great. The main focus with that section being on facade that face public streets, or if it's a private access drive, it's still kind of your entry point to the building. So public facing facade, and that includes landscaping. And because the intent here is to elevate design without dictating architecture, design materials, we've written as much as we can as a menu of options. There's a few where it's just a requirement, but we try to kind of fill that in where other areas for design details that could count towards them. Most of it is framed as pick two. But you're correct. There's one instance where it just says I'm a porch or a stoop.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
using
issues with
this
that one.
big red highlighted
Yeah,
section.
yeah.
Well,
It just really bothers me.
I walk through my neighborhood every day and look at like that house would get even blinds, that house would.
Yep.
So during our past discussions, it made sense to revamp this section for all residential types, so same thing, detached, attached, ADUs, duplexes. Some of these images show the bare minimum that we would expect, certainly given our current standards. And then others kind of highlight what could be possible with slightly elevated standard with what we're proposing. And I think it's worth, thinking about residential buildings make up a large portion of your experience of the built environment. I know we often think about commercial areas, work all day, but through your lifespan, small children, all the way to elderly people, you're spending a lot of time in residential buildings. So I think it's worth encouraging ourselves to try and elevate residential building design from the standpoint of doesn't every resident deserve dignity living in a well-designed house? So we can talk about bridges and stoops, since that's one of the first sections in these design details. So that is written as a requirement, the covered entry or stoop. I'm thinking maybe supervision for that language are needed.
I just look at it, I walked through my neighborhood this morning on the way to the bus, and it's like half the houses had just a 4x4 concrete pad, step up into the entryway, and it's like, these are houses that were built between probably 1910 and 1940,
And
they
they might not
certainly
be covered.
fit the character of the home, and it might be a little bit under the eave of the home, and maybe not. I just find it to be very prescriptive, and it creates an expectation for a home. And when I first read that, I thought, why don't we just require a little white picket fence around the house too? That's the way I interpreted it.
Yeah.
Because it felt very, very specific, and it felt like a requirement they shouldn't have. And I absolutely agree that everybody deserves the dignity to be housed. And the more we drive up the cost of new housing, the less opportunity for a lot of people to experience that home.
I love a front porch, but I mean, it's not necessary to, make a nice looking house. And that's part of the issue. And it's definitely not necessary to make it nice to live in or to feel comfortable or safe.
Can I, when you're thinking about a covered entry, that could be a projection of the porch, but it could also be a recess.
A lot of the 1930s and 40s ones are just straight steps, door.
So you're suggesting that even, I could think of a modernist design, for example, that recesses the entry a couple. But even that, you're saying, is maybe not the direction we should be going.
Well, I think, the 50 square feet,
That's
large.
Yeah.
That seems really big to me. I mean, yes, my porch is more than 50 square feet, that's great. But the house next to me doesn't have that, and that's fine as well. Why, why does that house, does that make that house poor because it doesn't have a nice covered porch?
And it's nice to have an overhang for the rain, but I mean, snow, but it's not necessary, I guess, I imagine that requiring this could just end up with a lot of homes that are just like stuck on this little like, porch situation. And if it's recessed, which I actually love a little recessed porch situation, that cuts into the living area. And then you're paying for foundation and all that kind of stuff, but you've now lost 50 square feet of the living area.
So is it the dimension that's the problem, or is it?
That was my first issue, but the second issue is just, why does it have to be covered? And then why does it have to, be there at all? I mean, a lot are gonna have to structurally need some sort of stoop just because of elevation and then the door swing issue. So they're probably gonna end up with something, just because you have to be able, there's a building code about, there has to be 36 inches on either side of a door after you go up steps and stuff like that, just for safety, for getting in and out of doorways. But
Well, it's really common where you don't have this standard to have a duplex that has no, it would have no front entrance. So this is sort of in place to make sure that
well,
there's
we
something.
said the door has to be on the front. But then also, why can't it be on the side? There's houses where the door is on the side too.
I thought we have something similar. Was it in the multifamily? I think the more architectural way, what I'm hearing to say this would be define entry through projection, through recession, the right recess, or potentially something else like landscape, define, and honestly, then that's enough interpretation that someone says, no, you have to define entry, some strategy here.
I did look at like a side entry on a house because the lot was so narrow that, if you put it on the front, then it was immediately walking into a room. And if you wanted to have like any sort of like entrance that wasn't directly to the living room, it had to be on the side. And there was a lot of, architecturally, like from the 50s on, lots of homes, or actually 30s on, that walked on the sidewalk. I mean, does that make that might be then, do we care about the window frontage? Because that's another separate design guideline. Does it need to have a defined entry on the front, or is it just that we want it to be welcoming?
Yeah, I'm just struggling. I see you looking at the time. I'm struggling with this because I'm coming from a little bit of both sides where I came from a market that was literally in the Wild West, and there were no design standards, and what we got was disastrous, uniformly agreed upon as building construction, and so I'm really, really sensitive to all of these efforts to try to avoid that. Potentially, you said the sort of some percent of developers, but that are trying to do the cheapest and quickest thing they do and get out. I guess I like the idea of a defined entry. I'm struggling with the requirements. I love the preference language of, these are the list of preferences and pick some of them. I think that's a really great sort of framework in which to present these to people. But the requirement is tough and it's narrow.
So I think you've all hit on a good point that this is too restrictive. So if you go back and you took the language, I think we're gonna have to flesh out that defined entry though, because we have to remember that this is gonna be administered by our current planners. And they need something that is not too much of a gray area, that doesn't need to go to, like the hearing examiner because someone feels that they've been arbitrary. So we need to give them a mix of options, which it's also very clear and concise for developers. They can look at it and say, okay, here are my options. I don't think we have to write it such that it's limited. It could say something, including but not limited to, and that way they get
That's
flexibility.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think of building a home that's on grade where you just have a walk-up kind of sidewalk that goes right into the home, you know, if it has a defined entryway, I guess, why does it need to have a front, you know, a front porch or stoop or whatever? Because it just seems like you're trying to dictate design, and I'd rather not see that. I get what you're saying with design standards.
And those are vehicles that you could use to define the front entry and therefore satisfy that preference, but, you know, there should seemingly be options there.
I think you could say define entry, and then let's say through projection, and you give examples of the strategies for that. Through recess, give examples if you want to use images, diagrams, so forth. And then the third one, or maybe landscape, I don't know.
Green separation.
Great separation, so exactly, you know, because I can't remember where this is in our code that we actually define how you approach the side or the front of the building, but.
That just feels
Too much.
No, it is, but it might be in the Browns edition standards that we, anyway. Or, I'm just gonna keep going on this, you have a licensed architect design entry, because honestly, that always is the challenge to me, is that architect is licensed by the state of Washington to do architecture, and that should be good enough.
So,
Well, no, I'm not saying, 95% of the buildings out there offend anyone who's a
so your suggestion is if somebody was in trouble to hire a licensed architect,
Yeah, even if it's just for that one,
that they can,
just to defend our.
they can ignore the design standard. Licensed professional.
I've seen a lot of crap.
Although it might still have to, like, some of the design standards, like,
Do what
you know,
the developer does. They can-
You know, if someone says design a beam and I fail as a structure in doing that, then it's on me and my license and my.
It's just subjective relative to engineering.
I know, but they meet the criteria of somebody
They
who
meet
is
the
trusted
building
with,
code.
I'm not saying they'll do it, but we have to recognize licensed realtors, we have to recognize
Well,
licensed professionals,
Guess what?
planners.
the scenario I'm imagining is you've got some large developer who's got an architect on staff that does his work. And he wants to just put up some cheap units and build them as cheaply as possible, and doesn't care.
It's gonna happen.
And his architect
Yeah.
is gonna do what he tells him to do, because he works, there, right? So I don't know that that solves the problem.
well, maybe there's some that are qualified for that and some that don't.
I would also suggest, and James Richmond just left, so I can't verify this with him, but I'm pretty sure that anything in our code that's written in the RPC format, which is how we've written these, can qualify for design review if a person wants to go that route. So if you just really
Got
add,
to pony up the 1,200 or 1,600.
right, so that there's the added fees and the added process involved. But if you really feel strongly that you want your house, that your dream house, to deviate from some of these standards, it could go through the design review process. And this gets back to the design review versus design standards, but you could go through that design review process.
But the covered porch thing feels like that shouldn't be something you have to go to a design review, not, you know, to like get passed. That's one of those ones.
We should not be writing these expecting that people are regularly going to have to go that route.
Right, yeah.
But it is possible.
The next one, I could say, like, that whole modulation thing, which personally I feel like offended by, but I could see where design review might be necessary for someone to want to avoid.
This has been brought up as a problem from Seabury Field.
Oh, I mean, there's one I walked past on night too, that's like this, there's actually 0 windows on the front of the building, it's like a duplex on the side
I
entrance.
think that's sort of what we were trying to get at, but
Yeah.
clearly we weren't getting at the appropriate avenue is buildings that are kind of turning their back to the street.
And there's some that are well done, but there's some that 0, the window thing, I think is key.
Well, so we did add, and we'll touch on that, we did add in all new language that talks about like walls, but I think it doesn't seem too much of a stretch to me, and, you know, maybe that's because I'm a planner, but we do require defined entries for commercial buildings, and I don't think that it's that far of a stretch to also say maybe that's for residential.
Just the whole notion that I think we're trying to get at neighborhood, and the fact that we want to get away from having garages out front of things, and we want to bring neighborhoods together. the fact of having an entranceway or a stoop or a piece of grass or something that brings people out of their homes and part of a neighborhood, I think is a good thing. And so I don't see that, I mean, no, not every house in the past has been built that way, but if we're trying to get away from garage facing and closed off and people driving into their garage and going into their home never to be seen again, a porch, a stoop is not a bad thing to do. So I, from neighborhood perspective, I kind of like that.
I think they're great for neighborhood character. I do.
That's what I'm saying.
They are not great at getting people housed.
Porch doesn't get people housed.
If it costs
Not if it
everybody
adds
to,
another
$15,000.
$10,000. Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't have to, though.
But it does.
the fact that it's covered, you know, you've got more roofing costs, you've got more different changes in, you know, the roofing. It's more complicated, so the roof possibly, I mean, it's.
But it
Everything you
doesn't-
have on the list is gonna add to the cost.
It doesn't have to be 50 square feet, but it could still be there.
Hey, Chris,
You know, the defined entry covers what Mary's.
Is to try, I mean, because we did turn our backs to each other with the way houses used to be built. And people will talk about how stoops and porches and stuff were good for community. I don't think this is a bad thing, so there has to be some sort of compromise in there, so you are building homes that are where back is facing the street, basically, or you have no way of moving people out.
sorry to interrupt you, Chris, just jump in because it's hard to monitor hands, so. Put you at a disadvantage, sorry. Just
Thank you, I was being polite. Good afternoon, everybody. I like the comments that were just made about the advantages of a front porch, you know, adding to the neighborhood. So I love those comments. I absolutely agree with everything she said about that. At some point, somebody's going to have to introduce the nasty C word into the conversation. And that C word is, for the first time in the history of this city, as far as I know, going forward, we have to think about climate. And a porch creates a barrier between 100-degree outside Spokane summer and an efficient interior that is air conditioned. And having lived in Phoenix, where every square inch between all the studs and the walls are filled with styrofoam in order to make the houses even livable, we got to start thinking about that. So the idea that we're asking for porches, we're asking for dormers, we're asking for things that create a difference in temperature around the structure, making it more efficient to heat or cool that facility as the year goes by. This is the time to start thinking about that.
Thank you, Chris. Can I comment on this photo? So I'll try to take both sides on this. It's a lovely house on the right, okay? And yeah, it's stark and so forth, but I'm not offended by what's on the left. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's bad necessarily, you know, proportions and density and so forth. I think there could be some improvements, but I look at the one on the right and say, okay, single pane windows, car centric, you know, lifestyle, big front yard with a bunch of watered grass. Probably no insulation. Like, honestly, that thing is lovely, but should come down and let's build some better housing there. So I'm just going to take like another argument here, because I think it's being presented as bad on the left, good on the right, and I don't. It's a value system.
You can easily transpose this though to like Comstock or something, and imagine what happens if somebody puts something like on the left next to.
But
It sounds like you just got a neighborhood in NIMBYs though there.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely where it should go, because it has you know the affluency to do this and to support this, and it's low displacement risk, and so I think we have to balance this argument with 95% of the built environment offends me as a designer. It's awful. You can't, I mean, you give up on that right away. First day of architecture school, and you're like, oh crap, now I know better.
They sound weird.
Comstock is the neighborhood, I mean, Comstock is the neighborhood that wouldn't let the fairest modernist home be built because they thought it was too ugly for their neighborhood. And now it's like a historic building.
Yeah, it just, yeah, it's a, you know, it's a bigger argument. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think we should be careful about
What tastes and preferences change
Yeah.
over time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I like the idea of preferences and giving various options to things without being overly prescriptive about. Because there are some things that we all agree upon are buildings better in a blank wall facing the street. Right? But yeah,
it's a nice side-loaded sidewalk there though, with the fence and
but it has windows.
zero state.
Yeah, it had at least some windows on the front. Better than that house I walked by on the way to Wisconsin.
Okay, well, if you guys are ready.
Done with slide 3.
You guys are really on fire. You touched on several things that are on.
I know, but
future slides. But so the other thing that comes in that first section is about facade modulation. And,
Carol has a comment.
oh, go ahead, Carol.
Carol, go ahead. We can.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to say I agree with Mary and Chris in regards to the porch, and it does help people to become more, to communicate better, sit out there in the evening if your porch is as large as the one that was on the right side. And they are cooler sometimes, and it gets you out of the house. But now we can have a list of, these are not going to be mandates. If someone wants to deviate, they can do so, but this is to give them suggestions on what the city feels will help their homes to be more attractive, or guidelines for, or these, so they can vary from these ideas, right?
So Carol, the coverage here currently is written as an R requirement, and that was sort of the discussion, is that feels too prescriptive the way we have it drafted, and so we can go.
I'm sorry.
back to the drawing board and try and come up with something more flexible.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
So the interior stoop is an R requirement, and so we're gonna try and redraft the code so it gives more options rather than you have to do a porch or a stoop. So we'll try and come at it from the defined entry language that Tom suggested.
Mm-hmm. Great.
My last comment about porches and stoops.
No.
What? I guess my vision of a porch or a stoop requires some sort of step up.
Yeah.
And I just thought about it from an ADA perspective, that does that create issues as far as, okay, we have a person in a wheelchair, and I know that there's ways to make accommodations for that. But does it create a situation where you would have to adapt a home to support a handicapped person to move into it? I don't know if there's an option for a porch or a stoop that is completely at grade, so you never have to step up. I don't know. I'm not a porch or stoop expert, so.
That's a good question.
So the facade modulation, the way it is in the draft right now, we have it called out for facades under 25 to 40 feet, and then there's a secondary for 40 feet, but we were picking this apart for our workshop. We decided that maybe that's too complicated, and the menu of options is the same, so we should just have one facade modulation subsection, and it will apply regardless. One of your thoughts. You need to pick two options there, and so a push or stoop would count if you wanted the options that you pick, and then there's modulated material wall if you do 4 feet, or if you do a material change, that would be a 2-foot change. You can change the roof line, or do something like a window, and then there's also the things such as I can't remember projection or a balcony where that's either 4 feet deep or 4 feet. Um, So articulated projections or setbacks reduce the perceived scale and visual impact of the building. Part of the reason why we're trying to encourage modulation. And then also modulation helps new buildings generally be compatible with the existing neighborhood for scale and development without requiring matching or making it look like the same sort of development style. So the bottom right image, it does have a roof line change, but I think that that's kind of the minimum that they did, obviously under current standards, to try and break up that long facade for both of those buildings. And then similarly, the top right building has some relief from that bell course, but there's no modulation. And so, I think to me, as a person on the sidewalk, that building has asked if I walk by it, which maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you start getting to, say, attached homes and you have multiple units next to each other, if they're all on the same plane, it just kind of has the feeling of a wall or like space, even if you do have windows. And, you know, how many windows are actually open, actual transparent space. So skipping ahead with some of the stuff that Mary brought up about garages, so this marries really smartly with what we had been talking about. Actually, this is a recommendation that makers helped us with when we were crafting the draft code, which is to update our standards and add a transparency requirement. So we're using 15% because we have that in the multifamily requirements. So we figured that would be a good place to start. And the transparency requirement goes really well with trying to get away from snout houses or that front-loaded garage where that's the first thing that you see and you experience when you are looking at a house. Current code limits garages to 50% of the, but we think the code is strengthened by adding that window requirement. And then we did add in language for this draft version that lets you count the window inventory.
Well, the 50% only applies to lots that are under 40 feet wide, though.
So yeah, there's a different requirement if your facade is 20 feet in length, which would have a smaller lot size, would be able to do that.
No, but the current 50% rule only applies on smaller lots. On larger lots, there's no limitation on how much garage you can have. Yeah, current. Yeah. Right, and this would make it apply to all lot widths.
You guys are going exactly against what the current market is.
For a large garage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the market, guys.
No, they're
They
all
can't get this next year, they'll go to Idaho because they can get them over there.
Well, I mean, there's certainly ways to address the front loaded garage. I looked at this a lot when I was working in Arizona, where there are a lot of large houses that have 3 or 4 car garages. And part of the way that we addressed that was you can't have all of the garages spacing out. You have to have some that would require a turn and basically have, you know, a faux window or some additional treatment. So it's not garage, and then your door is like tucked with that. But, I mean, I hear what you're saying about that's what the market wants. And we're trying to thread the needle between what market wants, what we hear from neighborhoods, certainly for establishment. We're open to suggestions if we think there's additional language that should be added to the draft.
It would still permit a front-loaded garage, but just not it wouldn't be the predominant feature of the house. You'd have to have it be less than 50% of the wall or that faces the street, or find some other orientation if you wanted to.
Yeah,
garage.
it's worth echoing it. We're not prohibiting front-loaded garages. You have to have that flexibility. The shaped lot that just have to build it that way. And we want to allow builders that flexibility, but there are additional considerations when we allow front-loaded garages. They do break up the sidewalk network. And I think if you're a pedestrian or a bicyclist, it just has a whole list of things that you consider on your daily walk or your daily bike. someone can back out and not look. I often think about that as a parent of a small child, that cul-de-sacs are one of the most dangerous places for children to play, because people back out without thinking about it.
So I have a question for our realtor. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
Really? Worry about
Is it what the market wants or is it what developers are building?
It's a combination of both, correct? The market wants it because it's a very practical way for people to get in and out. They want to go in, they want to get out of the rain, they don't want to have to go outside, and they want to get into their house. That's what they want to have.
So they're driving into their driveway, getting out, going through the internal entryway.
Yep.
Is this also looking at though, what people who are, 35 and younger are gonna want in homes going forward? Because we're talking about, these are homes that are gonna be built over the next 50 years. And, there are already trends that the people who are coming up and buying homes are not wanting to buy the same homes that have been sold for the last 20 years as well.
So one, I think Greg was hinting that my time management skills are not very good.
I was hinting at that.
Oh, that you glass the clock and plus the meeting.
Oh, no.
Is everyone okay? Do you want to talk for a little bit more on this and?
But 4:30.
Come on. Okay.
Got 6 minutes.
Should we talk for 5 more minutes on
20
this?
minutes per slide. 10 more.
Yeah, we can pick this up again next time, unless.
Yeah, so we'll read through the rest of it as much as we can. The idea being here that we don't want buildings to seem as if they're mostly garage. Usually this is at odds with market demand or market drivers and developer trends. But I mean, I think you can see really good examples around town of where this has been implemented really well. The top left building is in GU area. And then also like you can see with the bottom right next to the top left. And then the bottom left one is an older home, which I think kind of marries having a garage in front and also having the transparency level where like it feels inviting. It doesn't feel like some of the homes in my neighborhood county where it is literally all garages and the door to the front of the house.
Sorry, can I ask a question on the top right one? Keep it back really fast. My understanding here is that that garage is actually meeting that 50%. So the problem there is actually the windows.
Yes.
Not the garage. So when we're talking about the front-loaded garage problem, that one on the top right would actually meet the garage standard. It's just that it's not providing the necessary windows on the front of the house. Just to give you a flavor for like what we're talking about, those would still meet the garage standard.
If they had more windows, like
If they had more
second floor.
windows, then it would, yeah.
You satisfy the transparency with the garage door windows?
No, so the issue with that being, and I guess you could argue the same thing is true of the front door, although this takes a little bit longer. You can easily replace your front or your garage door and just, do that standard.
Yeah, we could, go ahead, Mary.
I was gonna say, I don't think we're here yet, but these are some places I don't think we want to go. Is in the Seattle area, a lot of those big garages have turned into, because they've made smaller homes, into rec rooms and a bunch of other stuff. And then they park their cars, big as they are, out on the street or in their driveways. So nothing much was accomplished. And there was a whole article I read about Seattle where they have done nothing but make those garages into living area and moved all of the automobiles out. And I think that isn't really what we want either. I mean, I'm one who lives on a narrow street in the South Hills who can't get my Fiat through sometimes. What we don't want is more cars on the street, and that's what this ends up doing, is they just put a heater in the garage, their pool table, and God help me, what else? And they don't live in the living space.
Is what, no,
In my car, in my garage, what a concept.
I don't have.
before we get to that, another way to look at this is not so to regulate so much on the garage part, but require or encourage, the basics, the eyes on the street, the old school Jane Jacobs, is like, let's actually get into the priorities, which then would start to, inform and encourage other solutions like one garage on the front and, two on the side, if so we would support that.
Or garages that are flush or recessed from the front door.
I don't think Jane would ever live in separate.
She would not like this conversation.
So one of the new sections that we didn't have last time in March is addressing blank walls that don't have a window. So this, again, we're trying to allow people the flexibility from the perspective of, okay, certain amount of transparency is good, but if we have too many windows, then we have building and energy code implications that are going to kind of ripple out from there. So we tried to build a menu, which we actually borrowed different section in the code that just multi-family, where you have an option of belt versus murals, sculptures, like it's pretty, I feel like, flexible in what you can choose, and hopefully it allows, I don't want to say like Blair, but it allows for some variety in the different kind of buildings we're seeing. And so, since we're short on time, unless you guys want to stop here and have some discussion with that.
I do have one question that you brought up, and that has to do with the energy code. Has there been as you're looking at this, has there been an analysis to make sure that we don't have any conflicts with the energy code? That it doesn't create a situation where it's going to, I guess, conflict or make it that much more difficult to comply?
We haven't done in-depth analysis, and I think that's part of the reason why we're using existing numbers from other sections of code. But certainly, and I know that such over mineral laws, there's a need for flexibility that 50% would be enough to meet.
And what you define as conflict is, could be, you build a glass house. It's just gonna be more expensive,
You have to put in different windows and.
Yeah. Well, I guess that balancing energy code versus design standards, you get into to comply with these design standards and complying with the energy code at the same time.
So
I guess, yeah, could you build it with standard materials, not upgraded?
yeah, what you're explaining is done, and so, in fact, in the next few weeks, it'll be done, on the next cycle. So the Energy Technical Advisory Group for the state, Building Council, they go into those scenarios. So they're mandated by the legislature to come in and come up with technical viability of different solutions. And so the commercial code's done, that was last week. Now it goes into the residential code and into the residential section of the energy code. And then they look at all those different combinations of, and then from those that are technically viable, more insulation, better windows, heat pumps, so forth. And they have to pick the most cost-effective ones to put into the code. And so they're held by technical viability first, and then cost effectiveness next.
Well, and that's done at the state level, but then there's all the different permutations at a local level as far as local design.
But your requirements, it's a tricky slope. Local jurisdictions can do more restrictive codes on everything except residential energy. And that was state legislators blocking that from, so we actually have to be careful. We couldn't go in and put more restrictive requirements than what the state energy residential code tops.
Or less.
Or less, definitely not less, yeah. Yeah. It's a good question, Lord. You're welcome to join the energy team. Not controversial at all. Sure it isn't.
It's a loss.
Trying to hit landscaping standards and then go to, kind of wrap
Yeah,
up.
if everyone's fine, I mean,
Okay. And we talked a lot about landscaping last time as well. And so I hope you see that in the new annotated draft that we've addressed some of those concerns. Requiring landscape along the street facing foundation. That's really part of just ensuring that there's appropriate landscaping that responds to the environment, the neighborhood around it, the urban environment. The minimum of front yard landscaping currently requires living ground cover, and so we tried to put in a new alternative to encourage Spokanescape, in addition to the monetary incentives that they have, that the city has and they have pre-designed plans.
So it just came out like 2 days ago because I follow one of the designer.
We heard some chatter about that and like thought it was coming, and then we saw that they're already online. You can do that instead of having a landscape professional design your plan. So these are the standards that we put in here. And again, with the menu of options, we heard some feedback last time about there not being enough options, and so we've added some others that you'll see here. The idea of having a pergola, to have an opportunity for a tree in the front yard with some kind of a associated planter bed, and then using large rock features that might even be able to reuse rocks that were extracted from the site during development as a kind of a low-cost alternative. So the point here would be, pretty simple, flexible standards that add to the quality of the neighborhoods and accommodate future residents over time so that they're easy to maintain.
What is that required street tree? Because I know Chris touched on that earlier, but I didn't remember that there was any required.
There was a recent ordinance in 2018, I want to say maybe 2019, where the urban forestry provisions were.
Okay, so that is already in there, just in a different place.
But we wanted to make sure that this front yard tree wasn't going to count the street tree that's be in addition to this required street tree.
in the right of way, not in.
Oh, in the right of way street. I don't know, my right of way street tree is mad big though. I mean, I know that's not always gonna be the case in new construction. Adding another tree.
So here's some examples.
It'd be enough, like that bottom. That's what I have.
You may not be able to do a tree there. It's a huge, you're like under the crown of the other tree. Yeah.
That's my neighbor.
On the top part.
Yeah.
Good. I think this is kind of rounds up. This is summarizing again, facades and the different options covered in your scoop, facade modulation, et cetera, that we talked about. And then the landscaping.
All right, one question about landscaping. You're welcome. So with Spokanescape, it talks about a certified Spokanescape professional. How many of those do we have?
If you follow a link in the PDF, it goes to the list.
Oh yeah, they just released there's like 4 pre-designed ones as well, that had like the plants and like suggested planting groupings.
So they pre-certified?
Yeah, they're by one of those designers.
Yeah, they do have landscape architects listed, but then they also have like Spokane Boys. Just landscaping outlets that you can use the pre-designed, as long as you follow that plan and use one of those certified providers.
Harold, do you have a comment?
Harold, we see your hand is raised. Hope you can hear me.
Sorry, thank you. I was just going to add, make sure we remember to add grass because we're known for being green, even the green look of grass here in the Northwest, beautiful. And the last house that they showed, it's beautiful, but it doesn't, it reminds me more of Nevada or Arizona. When there's, yes, that one at the top, and all of the rock is very nice, but I think it's too much to go completely like that. I think it doesn't reflect our character.
Yes, the middle Spokane example, the rock ones would not be allowed under the proposed standard. And for duplexes, it's already required that there be 60% living ground cover, so grass would count. It would continue to be, that would continue to be the standard going forward. But then,
Great.
so we're also allowing this alternative of a low water landscape.
Yeah, it's gonna say there anyway.
Right.
That could be further.
Right.
Like banning.
I think it was the house, even it was the house, probably on the previous page. It was, yes. Thank you very much, Nathan.
Yeah.
Right, this one in the upper right hand and on the bottom. Those are nice, but there's not enough. We want to make sure we remember to use grass in the area.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that if you don't have.
These
to.
wouldn't require, these formats wouldn't require grass, but I would like to see us, under the options, I would like to see us add grass as well, very landscape. You know, that could be one of the options as well.
Just so,
Thank you.
Carol, the city itself is actually asking for people to remove grass. So we'd have to really be careful because there's incentives to remove the grass and put in drought resistant plants because of the amount of water that's needed. So I know we used to be a city with a whole lot of grass and we were greener than Seattle at one point, but I think we've come to the end of that given what's happening to the river and snowpacks and everything else. So I guess we have to be careful of what the city is required in other spots.
And maybe defining it, you
I
know,
think-
the living ground cover, you know, that
Yeah,
could be grass, but it also could be pine or whatever.
but there are incentives to remove grass, so.
Right, right. But that doesn't mean every home has to remove all of their grass.
No. Incentives.
Right. So I understand we just want it to be a mixture and that is still an option and it's not going to be something we're
And I
going
think there's,
to eliminate.
I think there's gonna be a tending to put in grass because it's the most straightforward and inexpensive method to put your ground cover in.
So it's probably that these two, if we are assuming most developers are gonna default to grass, these two items are in addition to that.
Great.
Yeah, it's
And I understand we're asked to ration our water, which is good. But I just wanted to make sure grass remains on the list of options. Thank you.
Chris?
This is another spot where there's an intersection between actually another program that the city is doing, is heavily involved in, and we're involved in over on the Lands Council, which is the Spokanopy program, trying to increase the amount of tree cover in Spokane for the obvious climatological benefits. When I lived in Arizona, I had a very large Indian laurel in my front yard that basically shaded the whole house and made the whole thing sort of livable during the summer. So this is when we see things about Spokanescape, it's like, okay, fine, I get it. I get the issue of trying to balance, lawns and water usage and all of that. But on the other hand, if the tree is canopying that whole front yard, it's going to be, it's not only going to be prettier, it's going to be cooler, and it's also going to cool the house as well. So we sort of casually mentioned that, like in the bullet points down there, menu of options, minimum of 2, a tree and box planter and so on. I would urge the Plan Commission to lean on the tree idea. It is vital to the long-term interests of Spokane. Thank you.
Just one final question. I'll make this very quick. That menu of options, is that including but not limited to kind of list, or is that the list?
This is the list that they would choose to from a minimum. They could do the whole thing, they
But
could
it's
do
a
more.
previous list, but it's still kind of short.
Okay, then it feels really tight to me.
Because if you have to pick 2 out of 6, I mean,
Yeah, and yeah, I think personally, I think that should be an including but not limited to list. I understand the concerns for current planning and how to verify whether someone has met the 2, but that feels like an awfully tight list to be able to make this viable.
Are there some other features that
I can think
you're
of
aware of
them.
that we should include? Because I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't just throw everything we can think of.
Is there a list at Spokanescape or some other list that's been created for the city that can just be co-opted and used so that our programs match?
well, the Spokane-scape list is more of like suggested plants.
Okay, so there's not.
It's not really like,
Won't work.
yeah, types of things.
But like I could think of vegetable garden.
I was gonna say some productive. I think we,
Although at least that one is on there now.
So there is tree and
Under the
planter
box
box, so
planter.
we could separate that so that
Yeah.
tree and a planter box covers both.
But it's like if I do like a tree and in-ground bed.
Yay.
So we can tease those apart, but if you have other suggestions.
Okay, yeah, I probably do. It's getting late.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seemed like a tree, just a tree alone wasn't quite as equal as like the terrace landscaping of the retaining wall seemed like such a tree.
So that trellis there, you can imagine a lot of real chintzy trellises
Yeah.
popping up in front yards.
Yeah.
Or, you know, that little that like,
They
Yeah.
won't-
that thing that goes up the walkway, yeah.
They won't last a winter.
Yeah.
It seems like the first thing that somebody like who's trying to cut costs is just gonna stick in the front yard.
That comes under the heading of every little bit helps.
I think what I am concerned about is that you're stepping right into like literally 2004 new urbanist versus landscape urbanist, you know, Andrew Duwani versus Charles Waldheim arguments here. And I know that doesn't mean a lot to everyone, but
Yeah.
you're right into the prescriptive new urbanist, you know, this is how our city is aesthetic, and not like, what are we actually trying to achieve? The functional, should it be productive? Should it deal with rainwater? Should it deal with, you know, diversifying biology? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
put the bees high there first so that in 20 years, the moose is walking through the yard, you know, that kind of thing is what, you know, much deeper conversation, but it has to be an option where we're trying to do something positive, not just the aesthetic. Because I would reject all of those on the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I don't,
Well, yeah, it doesn't even, I mean, there's not even, maybe you just wanna have like a selection of perennials and bushes, you know, that would fill out the, you know, the space. And that could be on the list.
I will say that, you know, the top 2 are already existing standards for duplexes and some single family
Yeah.
development, but we're already having trouble with the existing, with
Even meeting the 2.
with implementing, as a city, we can't review and inspect and monitor.
Yeah, so
this
how we can do the last.
So, so that argues to be really clear, and that's what these are trying to do, is to be easily met and not something that somebody would have to interpret whether they're meeting a performance standard or something. This is just, you do this for this.
Like I hear you, but
again, that's maybe the argument is,
And you have to do a design review to.
yeah, and I'm not advocating for third-party building and site certifications, but that's already out there. What are we trying to achieve? You know, go for, whether it's LEED or we're going for, you know, Living Building Challenge or something else like that. It's like, that could easily be one of the requirements, and just say, go figure it out.
You have
Those
to
are
meet another standard.
standards that already exist, and, yeah. It's like energy codes again. You probably scripted things that 90% of the people are gonna do, and you say, or just go do a CASA cost certification.
Right, because it's already certified.
Yeah, and that's a thing, and
So maybe we could see if there are any of those that we could list.
So it does
Like,
say a minimum.
Still check a box, yeah.
Mhm.
I think that,
And it does say a minimum of 2. You can have more than 2.
Well, yeah,
yeah, you get extra points if you do them all, actually. So yeah, I think that's kind of the bulk of the material that we wanted to cover. It sounds like we're going to come back and talk more with you about.
I think we'll have a few more sessions on.
that's all I got.
We'll have plenty of time.
Okay, well, thank you, Nate and Amanda. Okay, real quick on the last item, just.
Oh, yeah.
We just have 2 things we have to do. We don't have to talk about it much. We're gonna form this working group / subcommittee. Who wants to join? Everyone's invited. When do we want to do it? 2 weeks. And so we gotta figure out, we can do this at the first meeting. We can figure out what the real schedule is, but just to set this first meeting, I think
In hearing.
that's the
So-
agenda.
So we will have a resolution for planning commission to adopt that establishes a subcommittee. Something to be aware of, the intent at this point is that the subcommittee would not ever vote on anything. It's really just a structured opportunity to bring things like design standards and some of the conversations that we've had within workshop to refine those before they come to workshop. So we can work out some of this
so we
stuff.
don't have to spend 2 hours.
So we don't spend 2 hours talking about, little nuances and things like that.
Well, the subcommittee that I'm working on now with the transportation, you actually vote, but what you're voting is to take it forward to the plan commission.
Yeah.
So there are actual rules on who gets to vote, who doesn't and stuff, so.
We're not proposing that formal of,
So you're not
this,
even-
somebody represents this, somebody represents that, and by not doing that, we're able to be a little more nimble and flexible, saying it's a subcommittee of the plan commission to go study these deeper
But
and
how does it
bring
move
these forward.
forward? How does it move forward?
Because we are,
It would still come to the workshop. But what we would do is instead of talking for a half hour about grass or landscaping or whatever
Right.
in the workshop,
Right.
we can work out some of those issues on the side in the subcommittee.
Agreement, how do you?
Bringing package to us.
And then we bring the
How does-
package to the
Yeah.
workshop where you can then,
But if there's disagreement, how do you move
so
forward?
Mary, I've mentioned before that I think, it's my personal opinion, that this could be like a technical advisory group that we do at the state level in the build other codes, and then those are made up of stakeholders. Now, they do vote and they have to have positions,
That's,
but when there's disagreement in the TAG, we bring it, to the official committee, and then we flag things that there's commentary, there's alignment on this is split, the council has to deal with it,
but you do take a.
you flag it.
Well, but you do take a temperature of the room and kind of vote.
You-
That's what I'm
You-
trying to see how you could have.
You sort out what you think you need to push to the council level to, and clearly this issue is split.
Okay.
This group is not gonna make a recommendation, push it forward. This is obvious. Still, it's up to the commission to,
Right. But you still take a temperature of the room.
yeah.
so back to the question, time, day,
Well,
frequency.
Or are we waiting for another, or can we say that the commission agrees? And technically, my understanding is the chair can make a subcommittee, but we wouldn't do that without the commission, saying, yes, we think this is a good thing. So does that need to be a formal resolution, or can we
So
say?
we would put together a resolution just to officially.
So, Todd,
Yep.
you wanted, do you have anyone that may want to volunteer for the subcommittee first before?
Yeah, I'd rather not have any of us appoint anyone. It's just who wants to volunteer to be part of it. If it turns out the whole commission does, that's okay. We're just gonna set aside 10, a half an hour to do that specific work. So if you're interested, Carol, absolutely. And it can be, and I think it actually can be kind of dynamic. I'm not trying to sound loose on this, and Spencer,
I just had a question as to how you were selecting people. I don't have time to be on the subcommittee, but if I wanted to pop in periodically, I could,
Yeah.
I would do so.
Yes,
But,
these would be open meetings, and the expectation is that, you know, we would be inviting people who are not part of Plan Commission to also participate and
Provide input.
add to the conversation. Yep.
Yeah, in this format, I haven't experienced that anyone feels stifled in their voice. It's just a smaller, focused work group.
Well, we had some committees for the downtown plan, for the buildings along
Yep.
Spokane Falls Boulevard, and those all worked out great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Amanda just reminding me, for the downtown plan, we noticed it as a public meeting so that in case there was a quorum.
Yeah, these would be noticed as public meetings.
Yeah.
We would follow the amendments.
And we'll pivot. Things that work and things that don't.
So, back to the time and day, because as we adopt resolution, we want to include the regular meeting time and day as part of that resolution. It just helps with the listing requirements. Todd, you had talked about trying to do it for a half hour before Plan Commission. We have Plan Commission leadership meeting immediately before Plan Commission, so we could do it at 1 o'clock on Plan Commission day, 1 to 1:30. And then be a half hour break, and then there would be Plan Commission. That was one idea. We can do it on a totally separate day. I think we just wanted to understand from you guys what
I
the,
think it'd be better to do it the day of the plan commission meeting, because Bowen set aside that big block of time. Most of us have that. Yeah,
It does mean like a whole like half day, though, now committed,
Yeah.
as opposed to just 2.5 hours.
We're three.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like it the same as, and if there's a break for at least some of us, grab a sandwich or doing something.
My only thought was that if we did it at a different time, that could open it up to people who couldn't ever, you know, attend these meetings because of the timing of it. That might provide input from stakeholders that can't do after.
Coming down here twice.
Or staying really late. I mean, we're all zapped already right now. Can you imagine us starting to?
Oh, yeah, no, I mean,
You know.
that's why I think it would have to be a different day.
Then it starts cutting into every other meeting most of us have.
Okay, well, should we start that way? Say 1 o'clock and then
Yeah.
pivot if we,
let's try it.
I guess my only question is half an hour enough? Is,
Yeah, it does.
I think it probably is gonna need.
Yeah, I agree with that.
that's where we had talked about it earlier, I thought, just start at noon, I know that's an hour and a half, but then you just bring your lunch and just make it part of your lunch activity and then move on.
well, let's start it because honestly, I don't know that our leadership meetings need to be 30 minutes.
I was just gonna say, we could look at. 40 minutes.
Or you could do, or you could,
We could have the
you
leadership.
you guys could do it on a different.
The trouble we have is, Councilmember Kinnear's schedule is very busy, and so moving that meeting to a different time. So we
I
could-
asked.
We could do 1:45 and then start Plan Commission at 2, and then we get that extra.
Okay, let's try it then.
So which,
What did
12?
we just try?
1 o'clock on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, Wednesdays is the plan commission.
At 1 o'clock, we have 45 minutes,
Okay,
and then there's a 15-minute break.
and we can modify it if that's.
But it sounds like we can't start it next time because we're going to do it official.
Yeah, we won't start
Okay.
for the 11th. Okay.
Okay, thanks, everyone. All right, good meeting. We're adjourning.
Be well, folks.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.